Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be checking out the new eufyCam S3 Pro. This is a 2-camera kit with a home base 3. Eufy reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to check out our newest camera set, the S3 Pro? And I was like, yeah, heck yeah I do. I am so excited to check out something new from Eufy. While Eufy did send this to me for free for review, all opinions in this video expressed are going to be my own. First thing we see on the outside of our box is a snapshot of the cameras, our home base 3, some big points here. Number one, I will harp on and just tell the world that you do not need to be paying for your security system. There are no monthly fees. If you buy any security cameras from Eufy, you do not need to pay monthly fees to be able to have your cameras where you can watch them from anywhere in the world. You can review the video footage, no monthly fees. Now, if you want to have monitoring and stuff, you can upgrade for that if somebody else is going to monitor your cameras. That you can pay for. But they're also telling you about some of the cool new features that this does offer, which is our MaxColor Night Vision, 4K UHD video, forever power using the solar panels here on the top of our cameras, as well as our new radar-powered motion detection. And then if we turn it on to the side here, we can see there's even more features that they like to share with us. The obvious ones that we've had before, like Bionic Mind and stuff like that. But one of the other cool new features is this 24/7 Smart Snapshot. We'll talk about that and a few of the other cool new features that come with this system in a bit. But let's go ahead and start with the my favorite part, the unboxing. Eufy. This thing has some heft. And when we open it up, the first thing you see is our security cameras. We have both of them here. There's a protective film on the top of these guys, which is so satisfying to peel off. But wait, there's more. And then of course over the lens. Why is that so satisfying? Ugh. My favorite thing about unboxing and checking out new stuff is peeling off the little plastic things. Alright, especially when it peels so satisfying like those ones do. So let's check out some of the cool features here on the camera. We already kind of touched on, we have our solar panel here to keep it charged forever, essentially. But you notice there's this big old lump on the bottom here. Look at that big old chunky boy. This, I have a feeling, is our radar. So this radar actually will reach out up to 40 feet to be able to see things further away than before. Previously, I think they reached out to about 25 to 32 feet. I don't remember if it's 23 or 32, or maybe it's both depending on the camera, or one or the other depending on the camera. But this now reaches up to 40 feet of range using radar motion detection so that you can see when things happen sooner. Man. This guy's a hefty chunk too. This has got some weight to it with those batteries. A solid device. All right, let's continue the unboxing process here. Once you lift up that layer, you can see we have our home base 3. This home base 3 is upgradable. We've done a whole video on upgrading the storage on these guys, but if you tap here, lift there, you can now have access to our hard drive. Keep in mind the home base 3 in this kit does not come with that extra hard drive that came in the security kit for the E330. This one you'll have to upgrade yourself, which isn't too hard. If you buy just like a 500 gigabyte hard drive or maybe even a 1 terabyte, I think a 4 or 16 terabyte. You can go huge on these. There isn't an actual limit on the size, but with Eufy's compression model, you don't need a whole ton of storage. This comes with a built-in 16 gigabytes of storage. So you're good to go. You don't have to worry about like, I have to upgrade this now. It's ready to go right now. But if you want to upgrade it, store videos for longer and add more cameras to your system so that it doesn't have to fill up so quickly, you can then expand your hard drive up to whatever size 2.5-inch hard drive you want. You can do SSDs or spinning disk hard drives. Either one works for these. The process is about the same. I'll link that video up here. I'll link that video for you guys up here. And then to the right of our home base, we have another box here. And this looks like all of our mounting hardware. So these are the mounting brackets for our camera here. Looks like it even gave us a spare. That's interesting. I wonder why they gave us 3 of them. But these guys will screw onto the back of your camera here, just like this. You can tighten it down with that little knob and then set it pointing in any direction you need. And then we also have a whole bunch of other things in this other side here. We got our network cable to connect our Homebase 3. We got some screws and whatnot to mount our brackets there. We have our power adapter that runs power for our Homebase 3 itself. We got some more screws, and it looks like a SIM card style tool. Maybe it's to hit a reset button on there. USB to USB-C cable, just to get the charge started on this guy. And our positioning stickers. This is so that you can put these stickers up on the wall wherever you're going to mount these cameras. Shut the front door! That's a real reaction. I didn't realize I was getting this. So these do have a solar panel on them, right? But, this kit comes with... I was wondering why there's a third mounting bracket. It's because it has a solar panel. Oh no, I wasn't recording. My top camera wasn't recording. Okay, this comes with a solar panel. Oh my gosh. This is so cool. Okay, I didn't see this coming. All of my solar cameras, like, it just runs off the solar, but you can also add a solar panel. So if this ends up being in a spot that's like shaded under a porch or something like that, so where it doesn't have to get sun, you can move, it has a cord on it, you can take it out and put this where the sun is and use your third mounting bracket here on this guy to put it wherever you need so you can get sunlight. Why am I so excited about this? That's awesome! That's a really cool surprise, Eufy! Okay! And of course we got another nice and satisfying... Oh yeah. And then lastly, it looks like we got something right here. I'm gonna guess this is a quick start guide. Let's see. That's right, we've got our Eufy safety instructions and our quick start guide, as well as a Eufy security sticker, so that when people come to your door, you can throw this guy up there and know that your home is protected. All right, we fit it all in frame. This is everything that comes in the packaging. We have our 2 security cameras with solar power on them and our LiDAR detection. We have 3 mounting brackets to mount our 2 cameras. We also have our solar panel that can be mounted. We have an extra USB to USB-C charging cable to charge up our cameras for their first run. We have a home security sticker to put in a window. We have 3 positioning stickers for our mounts here. We also have our Homebase 3 with its power adapter and network cable. We also have the quick start guide, mounting hardware for our mounts, as well as hard drive screws and a SIM removal style tool. And it does say on here, hard drive screws, please keep. Don't throw them away. This goes to your hard drive, so keep all that with it. This is also the button for resetting this, I think, isn't it? Yep. This also is used to reset your Homebase 3, so if you ever have to reset it completely, that's what that little SIM tool is for. That's everything that comes in the package. Let's start the setup process here. I highly recommend starting the setup indoors where everything's kind of close together and whatnot, because the cameras and the Homebase 3 use a sonar something or other to connect. So to get them to connect easier, have them in the same room, have them plugged in, make life easier for yourself. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up your eufyCam app. If you don't have it already, you'll go to the App Store and download it, and then you'll create a home. And so now that we're at our home page here, we can go ahead and click Add Device. If you already have devices, up here in the top right corner, there will be a little plus sign to add more devices. But we're going to go ahead and add devices here, and we're going to call this, and this is a battery camera. Actually, we'll want to start with the home base, I think. Let's start with our home base, the home base 3. You go to you'll choose where it's going, if you have multiple homes connected. So if maybe you're a landlord, you have multiple homes with security systems or Airbnbs and whatnot, you can separate each of those homes. And now it says go ahead and power it on and connect it to your router. And that network cable just plugs into your internet box where the internet comes into your home. Otherwise, you can use a switch if you already have those, things like that. But plug it into your router. Now we have a red light, as we can see here, maybe.
Welcome to eufyCam. Follow the instructions in the eufyCam app to set up the system.
Yes, ma'am, we will. All right, now we're going to connect our, make sure our phone is connected to the same Wi-Fi as the router. And then once the LED goes from red to blue, where right now it is a flashing blue, we're going to hit that. And then on the bottom of our home base 3, there is a QR code. We'll go ahead and scan that.
Homebase has received a pairing request. Press the sync button on the back to accept it.
And on the back here, you have a flashing red sync button.
Homebase was added successfully.
We'll go ahead and name our home base. I'm just going to call it the home base 3. And it says added successfully. Hit next. Now we can add faces, things like that. So if you want to add each of your kids, yourself, and whatnot, so that when it sees your face on any of the cameras connected to your home base 3, it's going to go ahead and pick all those up. And it looks like it's probably due for some firmware updates, so let's go ahead and take care of that. While that home base is doing a firmware update, I'm going to go ahead and start charging up our cameras themselves. I just have a little USB battery bank that's going to make it easy for us, but you can use a wall outlet and plug this into your computer or plug it into a wall outlet, whatever you need. If you have a USB port that you can plug it into, that's all it needs. Now that the firmware update is complete on this guy, now we're ready to add more devices. And it's as easy as hitting this little plus button right there. We can say this is a battery camera, and right at the top we have the eufyCam S3 Pro. We're going to tell it which home it's going to.
Press the sync button until you hear the beep.
All right. We're going to push the sync button. So on our camera here, there's a sync button right there. So you'll press and hold that until you hear a beep. Okay.
Ready to add device.
Oh. Did you hear? I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's like supersonic ringing noise. Can you hear that? That's pretty noisy if you ask me.
Device was added successfully.
That was easy. That was so easy. They say this install time on this is 5 to 10 minutes. I think we might do this. Oh, they said the charging cable is actually so that you can plug it into your home base to charge. So if you need to, you can use these USB-C ports on the back to charge your cameras, or I have other ways of charging cameras, so we're just gonna do that. And now it's taking us through the install and setup process for when we take it outside. So you can say, hey, yes, I'm already at the location where it's gonna go, and now we can test out. Turn that down. Now we can test out our camera. Look how good that is. Hey guys. Wow. I look good in 4K, you guys. Hey, I know that Eufy has some other cameras that records in 4K, but this is nice. This is a good 4K. I'm impressed. And then it talks about the best places to mount it for solar. Also talks about how you could install the solar panel if you need to mount it somewhere a little bit lower that gets the shade. And then we also have showing all of the tools and things to prepare for install. We can drill it out, but it basically takes us through the whole process. I'm going to show you in person how to do this whole install process as well. We're going to go ahead and say where this one is. We'll say this is the porch. Yeah, sure. And then here you can do your initial setup for notifications, things like that. So if you want sound and audio recording enabled, yes and no. I want all those things on my own security system, so I imagine you would too. But if you don't want it to record conversations, things like that, if maybe it's in a business and you're like, hey, you know what, don't record these conversations because we're having confidential conversations, you can tell it not to record those if it's sitting just outside your window. Also, notifications, you can have it set to most efficient, where it just sends you a text. It says, hey, there is motion, and then you have to click on it to go ahead and see what the motion was. Or you can say include thumbnail, where it's like, hey, it won't send you a notification, but it's going to take longer, but you're always going to get a thumbnail. I prefer the full effect, where it'll send you a text as soon as possible, and then if you're not able to get to that text quick enough, it'll then send you a thumbnail as soon as it can. So I like the full effect because sometimes it doesn't have enough data. One of my cameras is a little bit further. It's a bit of a stretch for my security for my home base, and so it does take a minute or two to get out there. So sometimes it's a lot faster to just get the text notification, and then if I'm really worried about it, I can check other cameras, or I can look back and see if it finally came through with the full effect. So I go with the full effect. Confirm, go to next, and you're done. That's it. So if you have gone through the process installing this on the wall like we're gonna do in a second here, you're all set. But the mounting process is also really easy. Let's go ahead and set up our other camera, and then we will start the install process and show you my little tips and tricks around that.
All right, so we're right here on my front porch, and I think this corner right here that kind of looks towards the front door and like the entry steps and whatnot will be the perfect spot to throw the camera, right in that corner right there. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start by taking our base off. I actually attached these here for just a second, just while I was setting everything up. But that just screws on. It's a standard 1/4-20 style screw there. And then we're going to take this knob part off. And then it's going to leave us with just this base. So you're going to have this whole section here and this piece here. And so this is what we're going to put up there. And then once we get it mounted, then we can worry about alignment of our camera. I do appreciate that these little bags of screws comes with an extra screw just in case you drop one. This does only require 2 screws, so it's nice that they have some extras. You can pre-drill this if you really want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and drive this straight into our face of this surface here. I dropped one. Here we go. That is solid. Nobody's stealing that. Now we can come in here with our base. And now we can come in here with our base all attached and everything. So that'll just go over that there. And this will just screw right on like this. Don't go all the way tight just yet. So this will actually help to tighten your camera in just the right place. As you can see here, this moves around, but as you tighten this down, this no longer moves. So leave it a little bit loose. Go till you get some friction here. There we go. Then we can throw our camera on. Stop. And eventually it'll hit a point where it'll either bottom out, or you can use this little white piece of plastic on the back to really crank that down. And then once you get everything in place, we'll loosen this up one more time. This camera generally aligned where we think we want it. They kind of lock it in, and then we'll pull up our app and see where it's pointing and then dial that in from there. All right, now that I got a light on my phone, I can dial this into exactly where I want it to go. So I'm gonna loosen this up a little bit. I think I want it pointed down more. This might help to have somebody else on the camera saying, hey, point it down a little bit, a little up, things like that. All right, and that is mounted solid. Now you guys are probably thinking, hold on a second, Grant. You just mounted this camera underneath like an awning. It's solar powered. How's it gonna get power? Some of you guys are already screaming at the keyboard. Duh! It's the solar panel, the external solar panel. So we're gonna throw that guy right out here where all this bright sunlight is. And with this solar panel being twice the size as the solar panel on top of that camera there, it won't need nearly as much sunlight as those would just to stay running. So if you get as little as 2 hours of daylight, it should be able to keep this guy running all day. Let's go ahead and throw this guy up right around the corner there. All right, so we got our solar panel here. And I've already attached the back bracket, and all you have to do is loosen the big fat nut on the back, and that will eventually fall out, and we can attach our rear section here. I think I'll mount it right here, something like that. There's one. There we go. And now we can just attach our solar panel. We got our big section here. Just throw that on. Get that started. Nice and solid. I'm gonna do a wrap one time around with my power cord to keep it tidy. And then I'm gonna tuck it behind my gutter here and into the siding, just so it's not seen. And it's also being held in by the siding itself here. And now we just got to go under here to the camera. All right, and here our cord comes from our solar panel over here. We're just going to tuck it underneath all of this to keep things nice and tidy. And look at that, it's almost perfect, the amount of extra we have here. Then we'll open up our charging port. So I'll put up our charging port. And this charging port has a gasket all the way around it, so that when you plug it into the bottom of our camera here, it's gonna seal that up so we don't have to worry about leaks. Just like that. Now we're gonna wanna play the whole repositioning our camera again. Okay, so my front door is right here, and that right there can see so much with its 130-degree wide-angle view. While it does look like it's pointing over there, I can still see right below it, almost out like to the left of it, below it. That's pretty cool that you can see so much with this super wide-angle lens. And yeah, don't be afraid to have it be a little bit off-centered, because doing that was able to give me a good angle of the front door, but also let me see all of this down here better. So that is pretty cool. All right, this next one I'm gonna make it a little bit easier on myself. We're gonna go ahead and install it right here on this exposed 4x4. Just throw it right up there. And this is essentially the same process. You got the 2 screws in the back, and then throw your camera on and get it all mounted up. Let's go. And that's it. We're gonna go ahead and dial it in using the app to see where we want it to point, and then it'll be ready to go. And there it is, all installed and ready to go. Looks sharp. We got our solar panel up there ready to capture the sunlight if it ever decides to come out. And it's got a really great view of my whole yard. So we got our door here. It can see the steps on our camera. Also, it can see the door on our garage on the other side of the fence here. So it can see everything we need to with that super wide angle lens, as well as being able to capture any motion or activity in the backside of our yard here with up to 40 feet of motion range detection using the new radar motion sensing. That'll be pretty cool to test out to see how good it is at getting activity along the backside of the fence, if it's able to pick up my dog or me when we're out here moving around and doing stuff. All right, let's go ahead and go over some of the more commonly used features and things that I think you will want to use the most inside of the Eufy app. So this is a view for our cameras, and we'll go ahead and click on our 3 dots here in the bottom right corner, go into settings. And this is where you can access like most of your settings, features, and options. The first thing we want to look at is our motion detection. So it's looking to detect motion anywhere inside of its field of view. And you can change out your detection sensitivity for like really low or really high. And then we can also set up an activity zone. And on this one here that's my front porch, you can see I have my holiday lights on right now. But you can still see where I want it to detect, and then obviously the sidewalk outside of that, I don't need to be getting notified anytime somebody walks by the house. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the little plus sign in the bottom right, and now we can drag this whole unit somewhere. Then you'll grab a hold of each one of these corners and move them around to fit your motion detection area where you want it to set off, where if it sees motion in this space, it's going to notify you. So basically I have it, if anyone
crosses the line entering my front porch here, it's going to go ahead and send me a notification saying, hey, we've spotted someone. And then once you're done, you can hit the little check mark here in the bottom right, and then you're good to go. And then if you want to go back and edit it, you hit the little pencil there, and that'll start editing that one. Or if you want to add another one and say, hey, you know what, I also want to capture any movement over here or over here kind of thing, you can move this box around and adjust it the same way as you did the first one. Or you can hit the trash can and delete that one. And once you're done, the activity zone has been set, and you'll now get notifications for any activity in that activity zone. And then when we're describing our activity, we're going to look at things like humans, so it can recognize people and say, hey, you know what, it grants here, it'll send you a notification, or it'll just say human detected. We can turn on a vehicle detection, pet detection, so if my dog ends up on the front porch, we can turn on notifications like, hey, a pet has been detected on the porch, rather than it not going off because it doesn't see a human, it sees an animal, it's going to disregard. You can say, hey, you know what, let me know about all of my pets. Or we can say all other motions, and this would basically just take all motion into account. It's seeing any motion. I'm not going to do all other motion because a lot of times things like the lights I have on there that you can kind of see with the holiday lights, they change colors, and that color changing can throw off the motion detection sensing on the camera. I have seen that on some of my other cameras. It thinks it's motion, but it's just lights turning on and off. So that's one thing to keep in mind is all other motion may not be ideal if you do have decorative lighting, flashing lights, things like that for like Christmas, Halloween, any other holidays, 4th of July, if you have specialty lighting for those occasions. And then you have a detection heat map. That's interesting. So this heat map will actually create a map for you telling you, hey, you know what, this is the most active area. And then you can say, hey, you know what, we're not going to worry about getting notifications there. Or, hey, you know what, this is almost there. If anyone encroaches on that, kind of like crossing the threshold to my front porch. And then we can also set it up for motion test mode to test it out so that you can tell how far away or how sensitive you want your detection to be. So if you're testing the range, you're like, hey, do I want it going off here? Do I need to set it at like a 5 if my porch isn't as far? Or do I need it at 7 if I have a really long yard? I'm going to reach out as far as it literally can reach. Which is a huge upgrade on this one over my previous cameras I've had with Eufy. This one now uses a radar motion detection as opposed to the previous motion detection model that only reached out, I think it was about 25 feet. This one can reach up to 40 feet. And then under motion detection, we have our power management. In here, we can tell it how we want to manage power. You can see our battery is still at 100% life, even though the past like 2 weeks, it's been nothing but raining, but the amount of sunlight that comes through the rain is still enough to keep this guy 100% charged. So I'm actually going to go ahead and bump that up to optimal surveillance. We can even do a customized recording. So say anytime you record something, you need to record up to 2 minutes, and then you can also say intervals between triggers. So if it sees motion, then there's no motion, then there's motion again. It'll take up to between as little as 5 seconds or up to 60 seconds between activity. And then also if motion stops, you can say, hey, you know what, if all motion stops, you can end the clip early. But clip lengths can go up to 120 seconds. Personally, I would probably turn off the end clip early unless you're really trying to conserve energy. If you're trying to go all beans and stuff like that, you'd go least amount of time in between triggers, most amount of clip length, and then turn off ending the clip early. But that's only if you have ideal lighting conditions, like if you're in Arizona and it is in direct sunlight most of the time. I'm going to go ahead and use just the standard optimal surveillance that comes with it, where video clip length can be up to 60 seconds and the system will attempt to record each event for as much as possible. And then our spotlight settings, we can actually turn our spotlight brightness all the way up or all the way down. So this does have a spotlight around the camera itself, so if somebody does step into the motion detection activity zone, it'll turn on the light to let you know, hey, I'm watching you, you know? You can do things like that. And then we do have anti-theft detection. So if you have this, in my situation, on a front porch, what that is if somebody tries to take the camera off of the wall, it will actually sound an alarm on the Homebase 3 as well as on the camera itself if somebody tries to grab and move the camera itself. So if it's in a situation where it might be
not super stable, it might be super windy, you can turn off your anti-theft detection. If you're worried about somebody reaching up and grabbing it and stealing it, like one of my other cameras I have are, honestly, it's within my reach. I could grab it. This anti-theft protection could be extremely useful. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that guy on. And the next one is a really cool new feature that is the first time I've seen it with any camera, especially this one, is the snapshot. Snapshot is going to capture images at regular intervals in between your events to give you kind of peace of mind, but also be able to give you kind of a time lapse at the end of the day. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on, see if we can go ahead and record some time lapses, maybe catch a sunset or two, and you can say how often you want it to snap a snapshot. We can say every 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15, 30, or 60 minutes. I'm going to do, let's do 15. And then we get kind of into more of like the regular settings, things like video settings. So we can tell it whether we want it to show the Eufy watermark, things like that. If we want it to have a timestamp, if we want it to have Eufy's logo, that's the watermark. Sorry, I just said that. Or you can say no timestamp or no logo. I do like the timestamp, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it with a timestamp on. Below our watermark is our streaming quality. So this is the quality that you see on your screen, not what's recorded on the camera, but what is shown to you on your screen. I typically will go with auto, where it'll automatically choose what resolution it can stream to my device. A lot of times it's fairly low, but you can get all the way up to 4K with these cameras. This is one of the first few 4K cameras from Eufy. They do have other cameras that do 4K, but they don't have a whole ton, and this one is one of them. You can say, hey, you know what, only stream at 4K, or if you know that it's going to be a low reception area, it's a little bit further from your home base 3, things like that, you can actually tell it, hey, you know what, every time always go for low quality because I need it just to connect. I don't need high quality on my phone. And honestly, even the low resolution I think is 720p, which is pretty decent on its own. And then under your streaming quality, the next one is our recording quality. So this is what it records on the device or into the storage, whether it's your home base or onto the device itself. You can say, hey, you know what, to save space on my home base 3, because I have so many cameras and not that much space, you can tell it to record in 2K or full 1080p HD. Honestly, Eufy has a really, really good encryption and compression algorithm that the 4K videos don't take up all that much space after all. So I usually keep it at the Ultra 4K so they get as much detail as possible if I ever do need to grab a video clip. Below our recording quality, we have night vision. So the default is to use the standard, which is it doesn't emit a light and it uses the ambient lights to illuminate the area. If needs be, you can go to the daylight where it will actually up the exposure, but it also you might lose some of the image quality in that one. But it's better for areas that do have lower lighting as opposed to something that might have decent lighting. And then you have spotlights, so anytime it does see motion or it's recording at night, you can have a spotlight on. That means the light on the camera itself is going to be on and shining in front of it, and it can wash out the image, as you can see here. Or there's also the option for infrared. This camera does have an infrared lens to be able to capture anything going on at night with infrared instead of our color night vision. I personally am really impressed with Eufy's color night vision. They've even upgraded in this one to be their MaxColor Vision is what they call it, which is an upgraded version that's more HDR, that even during the daylight you get a better image with light shining directly at it. It doesn't get washed out, or in shadows it kind of picks up those dark areas to light those up a little bit better. It's a really cool HDR feature that they have, and I think it'll be very useful, so I'm going to lean on that one in the standard mode. And then privacy zones. So if you have your cameras pointing at, say, a neighbor's home or your own home and it's pointing at your bedroom window, you can actually create a privacy zone over the window to where it will create a permanent black box. It will never detect motion in that area. It will never record anything in that area. If anyone downloads videos from that area, it will just be a black box there obscuring that, so you don't have to worry about anything private being exposed in those situations. These are super easy and work just like your activity zones, where you can open it up and then hit the plus button to create the privacy zones for yourself.
and that is video settings. Let's go ahead and go back out to our audio settings. So here we can tell it to turn on the microphone, audio recording, speakers, and then adjust the speaker volume. So this is if you want to be able to hear people when it's recording, if you want to be able to talk to people when you stream it from your phone, and if you want them to be able to speak to you when you're doing a live view from the camera. And you can also adjust the speaker volume, so how loud it's going to be on their end. That's it for audio settings. Below that is notifications. This is where we can tell it what notifications we want to get. I personally prefer the full effect. I always go for the full effect because it means if there's a motion notification, it'll start by just sending you a text. It says most efficient. It'll send you the most efficient one as soon as possible. So you'll get a message that says, hey, I see motion. I see a person, I see a pet, I see something. It'll tell you like, hey, I see this. And then if you're not able to react fast enough, or if your service is good enough, it'll include a thumbnail. So you can actually click on it, and then before actually going in and watching the video, you'll see a snapshot of, oh, hey, I can see it's my wife home. Oh, it's the dog in the backyard. Oh, it's just the mailman dropping mail at the post box. So I prefer the full effect. Then we can also set the ringtone for our alerts. I typically will go for silent or change for mine. I prefer those ones just because I know that, like, hey, I hear a drop, that means there's motion at home. I'll know that that's versus the default, which is your text notification, which I ignore texts all day long until I get home from work. And that is our notification section. If we go down to our general section, we can go in and rename our security camera, our status LED, so that if the camera is on and recording, a little blue light will turn on. You can turn that on or off. So if we flip that switch to on, anytime it is recording, it will have a little blue light next to the camera lens to let anyone in the area know that it's recording. In some places, that is legally required. In my area, it is not. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off. Next is storage. I actually had somebody in a comment recently asking, hey, can I expand it with a different type of storage rather than just the Homebase 3? And it looks like, yes, you can, using another NAS device, network attached storage device. So this is going to be like a 500 gigabyte hard drive and like a Synology NAS storage. That's pretty cool that they do have that option here. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of that because I am not going to be doing any of the storage into a NAS device. I'm just using my Homebase 3 and the device itself is storage. Also, if you go through everything like I did here at the desk and then you go out to mount it after, you can get back to your mounting guide through this same menu here. You'll go into General and then Mounting Guide. And then we have our About device where it'll tell you the model number, serial number, system version, subsystem version, and check for firmware updates. Below that, you can say share device. So you have the option to share your home or you can share just this device. So if you're like, hey, you know what? I want my neighbors to be able to watch my front porch while I'm away, or you know what? This is set up in the backyard where the kids like to play. We're going to give grandma access so that she can watch the kids play in the backyard anytime she wants. You can say share device, and then you can then go in and invite people to view and watch your camera using their Eufy account. They'll sign in, they'll create their own account and sign in that way and then be able to access your cameras from anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool if you don't have family that lives nearby. And then lastly, they have the share your thoughts, send feedback stuff. Last thing I do want to show you guys here is when you do hit those three dots from your home page, you also have this little moon thing. This is to snooze it. So if I'm having like a family party or some friends over to my backyard and the cameras are pointing in my backyard, I'm going to go ahead and snooze those because I don't need motion notifications every time somebody's back there because we're going to be back there the whole time. So I'll go ahead and snooze it until when I think the party will be over, and then it'll then continue recording and sending notifications again after that. And it even sends you a little notification like, hey, this will not send you alerts to this device for the next 6 hours. It is still recording, it's just not sending you any alerts. That is super appreciated feature at Eufy. And that's pretty much it for the app tutorial. It's super user-friendly, but if you do have questions, of course, I will always be available in the comments section. But let's go ahead and go on to my final thoughts and reviews of this device. So I've now had this for a couple of weeks or so that I've been testing it out and really putting it to the test, and I found a couple of things that were interesting. The first off is I showed you guys that I set up my solar
panel, so it was between two houses, about halfway down on the house, so it was only going to get a little bit of sunlight each day. And then this camera right here was pointed at my front porch with a sidewalk right there and a street right in front of it. That is not a great idea. Where this solar panel is not able to get direct sunlight all day, that extra solar panel was only getting 1, maybe 2 hours of sunlight, as long as it's not cloudy. But unfortunately, it's been super cloudy here lately. This guy just couldn't cut it, because anytime that somebody walked by, while it wasn't recording, it was saying, hey, is it crossing over into our activity zone? Are they, entering that activity zone so I can start recording? And honestly, the nice thing is when somebody does cross into that activity zone, it actually will catch them before they go into the activity zone, and then catch them leaving. It doesn't just record them only when they're in the activity zone, which is extremely helpful. I like that setup. However, it really drained the batteries, so I would either have to find a better way to get that solar panel in a better sunlight area or find direct wiring for it. Either way, that location was not ideal. So if you're planning on using it for that same setup, I wouldn't recommend it unless you can get direct sunlight all day if it's a high traffic area like that. Otherwise, 1 hour with low traffic, not that big of a deal. I think it would still do great. I would not worry about it, because I have other cameras that are doing just fine in this similar scenario. Kind of along those same lines, I want to just drop this in here into the middle of the video, because I learned after posting the short review that's just like a quick unboxing and like my quick review. This also, starting next month in November, they're hoping to launch a new feature where if you can run constant power just via USB-C, you can actually get it to record 24/7. So if your power goes out, it's still recording because it's got the internal battery, but if it's got constant power, it can record 24/7, so you're never missing anything. Now that I've got the one and only negative that I can find out of the way, this thing is awesome. The camera quality is really good. So actually, I'm gonna pull up here a video comparing it to my Solar 360 camera that I did recently back in the spring versus my other solar camera, the Solo S40. So this was a really old or early model. I think they now call it the S330. This guy right here, and you can see it's had some time out in the sun. The lights may have done something to the framing here. They've now changed the design entirely to be black. The LEDs are much smaller but much brighter. Overall, this guy does way better, but if you just look at the image quality, this doesn't support the color night vision. You have to have the light spotlight on for it to do it in color, otherwise it's using black and white IR. And my backyard is right next to a window where somebody sleeps, so I don't want to keep waking somebody up at night. If the dogs are going outside to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I don't want that light coming on, waking them up all the time in the middle of the night. So I try to keep the lights off, which makes it really nice that they actually offer that. However, if you do want spotlights, it's got them. 100 lumens coming out of this guy. Decent enough lighting to be able to see what's going on, but honestly, you don't need it, because if you look here, that color night vision is impressive. Quick example, this is what my Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra is seeing versus what that camera is seeing in the exact same lighting. Also, one design feature of this, you can kind of see it. It's got kind of a lip here. So this one is totally flat-faced, this is it. It's almost bowed out like this here, the face of that. Where this guy, it's got kind of a visor to it, so that when rain and stuff happens, it's not going to get rain and moisture and precipitation and stuff like that built up on your lens as easily as this guy. So that is just one more step, one more piece of extra forethought that Eufy put into this guy. Totally worth the upgrade. And of course, while I'm over here, look at this odd little chunk that they put on there, the little chin. It's like a little beard on your camera. No, this is your radar sensor that reaches out 40 feet, which is much further than I anticipated. This thing works really well. When I had this set up on my front porch, I set it all the way to the least sensitive, so that it least sensitive, so that something had to be as close as possible, and it was still picking up people at the bottom of my steps at the other side of the porch, which is only 20 feet away, but pretty decent that it was actually recognizing, hey, there's movement. It's recognizing motion with the radar. Super cool. And let's not forget one of my favorite things about this guy,
No monthly fees. Once you own this, you own it. You have all the videos, you get the notifications, you don't have to pay a monthly fee just for this thing to work. Another really cool feature that I really like about it is the 24/7 snapshots. So we set this guy up to do snapshots every 30 minutes or something like that. And so you can just scroll through the whole day and get your snapshot, and it's gonna be just intertwined on a timeline with the actual video. So you can just scroll through your whole day, watch the sun rise and go down and whatnot like that. But you can also see all of the activity through your yard throughout the day. So you can be like, hey, actually, my lawn chair disappeared at that time. Like, you can spot, you know, I have this time window when it was here and when it was gone. Or you can say, hey, actually, here's the video clip of in between those two. Super useful, super handy. I do wish though that they could that there was a way to download the whole thing, all of the snapshots with little 1-second clips, and then all of the videos attached as one large file. That would be really cool to make almost like a time lapse for you, to be able to show you a time lapse of your day on that camera. That would be a really cool feature to see Eufy provide on that with that snapshot. But still, what it does provide, I find myself using it all the time. Super awesome. I love the snapshot on this guy. Speaking of snapshot, in a similar setup, you can use what's called cross-cam tracking. So if you have this set up in one area and then the next area is right at the edge of this view, or maybe they cross over views, your second camera, AI can use cross-cam tracking and say, hey, you know what? I saw motion leave this one and enter this one, and it can stitch those two together to say, hey, you know what, this is actually one video at this camera to, boom, this camera. Super useful, super handy to be able to track anyone that's moving through your yard and whatnot. So if you want to do that, that is something that is powered by the AI using the HomeBase 3. And I've already touched on this, but I really want to reiterate that HDR and the night vision. So the night vision is really great, but the HDR night vision, it just takes everything up a better, just going from the 4K 360 camera that I have right now to this one, just jumping between those two, it's night and day difference. Neither of them, they both have the same lighting. We're showing the exact same scene right here. Same lighting, both 4K cameras, and look at that image quality difference. Isn't that awesome? The biggest downside is this guy doesn't pan and tilt to follow objects around, just like my 360 camera does. Maybe in the future, Eufy's going to be coming out with a 360 camera with a lens like this, the really great night vision on a 360 camera. I'm sure they will. But honestly, you almost don't need that 360 camera with how wide a field of view you can get with this guy. I had it set up in the corner of my front porch, and I could see right below it, to the side. I could see all the way to my door. I could see everything that I would want to see, be able to capture all of whatever might be happening in that field of view. That 130-degree field of view is much bigger than you might anticipate at first. So very impressed, very happy with the wide-angle lens on this guy, still providing really great video even with a super wide-angle lens. And that's kind of it. That's all the notes I had. That's all the things I wrote down that stood out to me, my favorites, my least favorites. I wish I could have the download it as a whole thing, and it was kind of unfortunate that this guy couldn't get all of its battery in that high traffic area. But if you want to get this guy for yourself, this is the eufyCam S3 Pro. So there's an S3 and this is the S3 Pro that comes with the radar and a couple of other cool new upgraded features from the previous one. And it comes with the HomeBase 3 when you buy it as a kit like this one. Make sure you grab that for yourself. Links will be down in the description. I am an Amazon affiliate, so using those links do help to support this channel with no additional cost to you. If you have any questions about this or anything else you've seen in my videos, leave a comment down in the comments below and I will do my best to get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciated this video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.